Hello, everybody. This is Mr. Mathis. We're here on 9.3 namespaces and functions. Okay. And we're looking at this function and variables part 2. Now, this example is talking about global and local variables. Okay. So let's take a look at something. Let's stop. Let's run the code. All right. We run the code. We get two different outputs. Why? We have a global variable and we have a local variable. Now think of the word global. Global is everywhere, all over the world. So think of a global variable as all over your program, okay? Then if it's inside of a function, it's called a local variable, where it only works, is only recorded, it only counts inside the function. So when we have this first output, high, okay, that is from this print something from this function. Okay, so this Z, if you print the Z times 3 times, you get high, okay? But this Z has nothing to do with inside this function. It's only going to count the global variable, okay? So it's really, really important to understand a global variable and a local variable. A global variable works everywhere. A local variable only works inside of a function. All right, so let's move on. Let's try to, we have to debug a program. We have to fix this function. All right, so let's get started. This program takes two values and prints their total. All right, so this just takes two programs and prints their total. All right, so let's see what's wrong. Let's run the program. Let's see what happens. Line 9, okay? The name total is not defined. Why is total not defined? Okay? Now, as you see, total is a local variable. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Total is a local variable, okay? And it's printing total in the global space. So the global space does not know what's inside this local space, okay? So you have to do one of two things, okay? You have to move this. Well, let me take a step back. Let's comment this out. Let's comment this out so we can still see it. And if we actually print inside the local space, because all these variables were local, now when we run our code, we will get 11. Good. Okay? Or if you want to keep the print total out, you have to bring these local variables out and make them global variables. So we make num1 equal 5, like we're doing here. We make num2 equals 6, just like what happens. We're calling the function here. And then you take this part, put it here, and now we run the code good. So you have two options. Make them all global, or you can keep it all local. Same output. Okay, just different ways to get there. All right, let's continue. Okay, now what does Codehs want us to do here? Okay, write a program that takes the user's enter value and adds it to the value taken from the program. Okay, this has already been created for us, and it should be the only global variable in your program. Okay, so write a function that gets the second number from the user, adds this number to the user enter value, and print the result. Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. So we have here, we have our global variable. Okay. They want us to use some inline comments. So global variable. Okay. Now let's. Okay. So now let's define a function. Okay, so we just divide add number, right? Codehs wants us to take a user's input and add it to this and then print the result. Okay, so let's just create a variable. We're going to create a local variable. Let me actually just comment that so you can see it. Local variable. Okay, so we're going to put user num for user number. Okay, and we want to put input. Let's see, what do we want to put? Enter a number that will add to n. Okay, good. Now remember, this is a number. We're going to use mathematical operations. So let's do, we have to, oh, I didn't mean to do that. We have to make sure that this is an integer. Okay, we got to make sure this is an integer. Good. All right, so let's, where should we go from here? Now we want to print this. Okay, so let's print. Now we want to print whatever the user puts added to our variable, our global variable is already here. So we have num1 plus user num. Right? Okay. And so let's actually just call this function. All right, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. I enter number that will add the 10. We enter 5. Good, we get 15. Check the code. Okay, good. All right, so that's really all Codehs wants us to do here. So let's move on. All right, great job. All right, add, subtract, or multiply. Okay, let's see what Codehs wants us to do here. All right, so write a program that asks the user for two numbers. That asks them if they would like to add, subtract, or multiply these numbers. Perform the chosen operation on the value showing the operation being performed. Okay, so they want us to write 3 functions for each mathematical operation. Okay, so for example, if this was the given input, this should be our output. All right, so we have to write 3 functions. So let's actually start out with the input, okay? So let's save this into a global variable, okay? Num1 input. What do they want us to write? This, okay? So we're gonna just copy and paste that here. Give it a space. Okay, now let's save the second number to num2. Okay, so let's input all right, and let's save this second number. All right, good. Now let's choose an operation. Okay, it says do not use the variable name operator. So let's do operation. Okay, operation. And we input, okay, let's input all of this. Choose an operation, add, subtract, multiply. Good. Now let's just see if it runs. Okay, into the first number 3, into the second number 5, enter operation. All right, good. So that works. We just have to keep going. All right. So we want to get the following output, okay? But we have to create 3 separate functions. So let's get started on that. Let's do the first function, add. Okay, we're gonna add the numbers. Okay, so how would we do that? Let's just first come up with something that we can print. Let's just come up with the output first. So let's save this into a local variable, num1 plus num2, right? So we know all right, so we have this function called add. Num1 plus num2 will give us the sum, right? And we want to be able to print this, right? So we want to be able to print it so it has some output like this. So how can we print this? Okay, how can we print this? Now we print. All right, first will be num1. Okay, now remember you have to make this a string. Num1. Okay, we have to make sure there's some sort of operator. So the operator in this case would be the plus sign, right? Because when we print it, it will be plus this addition. We want to combine this to num2. This will give us this second value, right? Now we want to combine it. Now we want to combine it with this equal sign, right? So we have to make sure we have an equal sign as a string here. And then we want to produce this number. And what number it will be? The sum. Okay. We may have to put str sum, I believe. Okay. Now I forgot to mention, I should have, since we're doing mathematical operations, we have to tell Python that this is going to be an integer. And same thing for num2. We have to tell Python this is going to be an integer. All right, so that looks good. All right, so we have to do the same thing for each operation because we don't know what they're going to choose. So let's just copy and paste. I think that's a little faster than me typing. Now we want to make this one subtract, right? And so instead of sum, we are just going to put difference, right? And then we're going to minus the numbers, okay? And so num1, and so instead of here, we're going to plus, we're going to have a minus sign, right? This minus, we want this output minus. And then instead of sum, we want difference, all right? So that should print out, you know, if they choose subtraction. Now our last function, we want it to be multiply, right? Multiply. So instead of the difference, we're going to name this local variable product. It just makes sense, right? So instead of subtracting or adding, we want it to be multiplied. So instead of this minus sign, right, that we would have here, we'll actually have this star symbol for multiplication. And we wanted to print out the product, right, inside this local variable we just had here. Okay, good. Now that we have these functions defined, we have to call these functions depending on what the user inputs, okay? So this screams an if, elif statement, okay? So if operation, right? If the user, we got to account for whatever the user puts in. So if the user types in add, what do we want to happen? Okay, what do we want to happen? we want to actually just the add function to run. We want to call the add function, right? But if operation equals, if the user puts in subtract, right? What do we want to happen? We want Python to run our subtract function, right? Now, should we do else or elif? Now, remember, we have to let the user know that if they put in something other than add, subtract, or multiply, it's an invalid operation. So we still need another elif, because we want to save that else for invalid operation. Okay, operation. Okay, multiply. Okay, and we want to call our multiplication function. All right. Else, we want to print something like invalid operation. Okay, something like that. All right, let's see. Let's run our code. Okay. All right, so we have our first number 3. Let's do 5. We add, we get 8. Good. Now let's choose 3, 5. We subtract. What do we get? Invalid operation. What did we do wrong? Subtract. If operation equals subtract, we have subtract. All right, let's see. Does multiplication work? 3, 5. Let's do multiply. Okay, multiply works. Okay, we just have to figure out what's going on with subtraction. So if operation equals subtract, we have subtract. Let's see. Okay, we have operation subtract. Oops, define subtract. Okay, if operation equals subtract, we want to run the subtraction. All right, what is the issue? All right, so I don't think I spelled this right. Did I spell this right? Subtract. Oh, it shouldn't be an S there. Okay, so hopefully that should be it. Let's run it again. Stop, run. I just spelled subtract wrong there. Okay. Okay, good. I just spelled some of this wrong. All right. Thank you for bearing with me. I think we got it. Let's just check the code. Good. Just check the code just in case. Good. Good luck. Any questions, please ask.